right. So just give it a couple seconds because I know it kind of cut you and Crystal off like for the first couple seconds yesterday.
Well, we were giggling at each other as we were going to live. So in fairness to StreamYard.
That's great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
Uh-oh. Hold on a second. I have feedback somewhere.
Me. I'm innocent.
No. All right. Oh my gosh, I need playback. Where am I getting?
Do you have it open on your YouTube somewhere?
I don't know. Oh, there it is. I found it. That's weird. It automatically started playing from the Discord notification.
Huh.
We're just going to shut Discord off right now.
Always a good idea during live streams.
Yes, yes. Praetorian, hi.
Hey, Zen.
Praetorian.
Beanie Barbarians.
Praetor Zen, that's what it was. Okay, Zen. Yes, I know Zen. I've seen Zen. Cool. Well, so I guess since we're just getting on now, I'll introduce myself really quick. So, hello, I'm not Tori. I am hijacking Tori's channel to interview her because guess what? She published a book. Which I know we've been like talking about this like every day since Tuesday, but that's okay because we can't chat it from the rooftops enough. So I am Sara from Sparrow Springs. I am an illustrator. I've been kind of actively in the bookish community for about a year now. Prior to that, I have my own YouTube channel and I have done illustrations for other people over the years. So Tori and I have been best friends for a very long time, 20 years. 20 years. This is not new information, but
I basically tell everyone all the time.
It's a long time. That is a very long time.
So it's been a long 20 years, guys.
If you feel bad for Tori, go buy her book. She needs it. But in all seriousness, having watched you go through this process before, I remember when you first published your very first like children's book, like when you were 14. Like I've been around that long. I was around for even some of your other like kind of shorter novels and stuff. Like what was it? The Six of Us, I think, was one that you wrote. Like,
oh my gosh, yeah, I know. I don't even remember what it was about. I remember the title though.
I did. So it's weird to see you here now, just after all those years watching you go through your writing journey and like really from brainstorming books about horses all the way to kind of dipping into fantasy and then taking a break from it and starting a family and then now you're back into it. It's been quite a wild ride for you.
Yeah, yep. Well, and also like, most people know this, but to reiterate, Sara usually is one of the first people to hear new story ideas that I have. Usually I get the idea and within 5 minutes I'm calling Sara and I'm like, okay, so sit down because I need to tell you about this.
Yes. So, I mean, first of all, let me say I am insanely proud of you for this. Just being able to be here with you like during this process, throughout this process, and now releasing it to the world, to everybody. It's like I get lots of little proud feelings from my here. It's a good thing. So I do want to open up. I know we've talked a lot about like kind of your writing process. So we've talked about themes in the book. We've covered a lot this week with, between 3 live streams. So I'm not gonna belabor that too much because we promised everybody artwork. So we're gonna do that today.
They came for the art.
Yes. But there was one question that nobody really talked about that I really wanted to cover with you. And that is, again, I've watched you all of these years writing your books. 20 years and more. And it seems like every time you sat down to write a book, it's like it wrote itself, And I would say, with the exception of kind of when you were like getting out of the middle grade books and stuff, that maybe your last couple horse books that I could tell that you weren't really into it anymore, and then it was a bit more of a slog to do it then. But even then, it didn't take you really that much to pump these out. But now this book, we talked about this, like, this was such a different experience for you writing wise. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about why that may be, and like what was different about it?
I think just in terms of logistics, honestly, it's writing an epic fantasy where you're dealing with multiple countries, you're dealing with a much larger cast of characters, and they all have their own history and motivation and relationships to the other characters, to the politics, to the economy of the world. Like, there's just all of these pieces. There's so much to juggle. And I've read enough fantasy that I know how much goes into it in terms of just the amount of information you need to build for something like this.
Yes.
But I think I was also very aware of the fact that I was stepping into a new level of writing, because, it's when you're writing adult epic fantasy, in my world, like, every word matters. Every little bit takes so much going back over and combing back over and making sure you have the politics just right, and that you have, making sure that the timelines.
Yes.
And like, phase, the passion doesn't change. That's something that's stayed the same for me with every project. I get very, very passionate about these stories, and Phased was just such an important stepping stone to this, but it's a much more intimate worldview with a smaller cast. And I could really delve into the kind of psyche of the characters, but I didn't have to do as much extensive work with all of the bigger pieces of the world around them. And I think that was a new experience for me. Because even when I wrote fantasy back when I was in high school, I just that was me learning how to write fantasy, and I published it, and I just was like throwing stuff that I wanted to write in the book.
Yeah. And, well, I would say even like, part of this process being just how many people were involved in this project versus any other book that you've ever written. I think
absolutely
Phased, to some extent, was even a huge step up from what you'd ever done before. But even within that, we still really, it was really only me and your editor that was really a part of that process.
Right.
And I mean, I don't even know how many people you had involved in this, between alpha readers, beta readers, like editor, and
a lot.
Like, it was a lot. So it was a lot to keep track of all those moving pieces. But I think it really does just speak volumes of just, what you're talking about, of just how much there is involved in this to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's a big growth moment, because I knew when I started the first book in this world over a decade ago, I knew I got done with the first draft, and I stopped and I read it, and I was so proud of pieces of it. But I think I knew I wasn't there yet. I knew I wasn't ready to write something of that magnitude yet. And I'm glad I didn't try to force myself through that, because while it sucked to wait as long as I did, I needed more time in the genre. I needed more life experience of my own, and a lot of different things. I don't think there's like a prerequisite for writing epic fantasy, but for me, at least, both those things were really important.
Yeah. And I remember even, reading that first draft of your original series, and like already falling in love with like the world and the characters and whatnot. And like I think I can't even count how many times over the years that you've said, I need to get back to this. I need to get back to this. I need to get back to this. And then all of a sudden you're fresh off of Phased and you go, I have a prequel series. And I'm like, what?
I mean, you know me well enough at this point to know that at the drop of the hat, I'm off in some direction, like 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always known that this world is, I don't want to say that it's for sure my magnum opus, like fantasy project of my life, because I'm 32, so I have no idea where what other worlds will come in the future. But this one is always going to have an incredibly important place for me because it was my first big epic fantasy project, and if I can pull it off the way I want to, I'm going to be very, very proud of it, and I'm excited. Now it's just going to suck to wait till it's all out.
Yes, but I mean, it really is a testament of like what you're capable of, because having read, I think I've read pretty much everything you've ever like put out to some extent. Like there might be some side projects that I never really like got access to.
That's okay. There's a few of them that will stay in the trunk forever.
But even with that, like the jump from Phased to Bloodstones, and like don't get me wrong, I love Phased. Like
I do too.
It's such a heartwarming story in a traumatic way.
That's what I'm here for.
That is what you're here for.
Yeah.
And then to see Bloodstones and just the shift from, I mean, you really kind of surrounded yourself with like a pretty narrow archetype in a lot of your books, and just the expansion of characters within Bloodstones was like astronomical. Like it was downright amazing. And woman, like the amount of times you sat there and you're like, oh, like my prose are not great. I don't like my prose. They're horrible. And you've got people left and right like, oh my gosh, the amount of like one-liners in this thing, that the quotable, like there's so many things that people are already recognizing from this book. It's truly amazing.
It's definitely validating, I think, because I, grew up in the fantasy genre reading Steven Erikson and Robin Hobb, and these just masters of not just storytelling, but prose. Like, oh my goodness, the number of times that I've just stopped and put the book down and just sat with a line from Malazan. I think it's hard when you're new to the genre not to compare yourself constantly to your writing heroes. And so I was like, well, I'm not, I'll never be. And I think now, largely due to the incredible support of the people that have been giving me feedback on the book, I feel like I've let go a lot of that comparison, that need for comparison.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate my influences for being the incredible masters of craft that they are. And now I'm learning to find my own voice in my own way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got Zen over here, and we got Anitha.
Hi, Anitha. Hey, Britton.
What was his name?
Britton.
Britton. Okay. Mm-hmm. Some oaky dude, Britton. Hi.
I know. I'm mostly, everybody that comments on my channel, I mostly know all of their actual names. Mostly.
I recognize a lot of these names, but just. I'm not. This is not my channel. I'm hijacking for the day, but this is not my channel. So.
I'm around these people all the time. I'm just kidding.
Yes. Yeah. You're being called out here.
I know, it's launch week, Britton. I'll get to you. I promise.
Yes. She hasn't had anything to do this week.
No, I've been sitting around twiddling my thumbs.
Well, all right. Let's kind of get into some of the stuff, because I planned some stuff here. So
I'm nervous and excited about it.
Yes. We are going to quiz Tori on her own book. Let's see how much she actually remembers,
See, I feel like this is the segment where Sarah is out to prove that I didn't actually write bloodstones because I don't remember anything in it.
But we had kind of the perfect lead into this because, you know, you're talking about how it's so hard to keep track of all these different pieces, the timelines, and, you know, I'm here to help. I'm here to, you know, freshen up that memory. Oh yeah, I'm here for it. Now, there's a little bit of a twist to this. So I have 15 questions for Tori. Now, some of these are a little obscure because I had to be really careful about not asking questions that were too spoilery. So, but I've got 15 questions for you. If you can get 10 out of the 15, I will buy you something off your Amazon wish list.
Oh, man.
I know. So,
I don't know. I think I'm more nervous about this than I would be about being on like Alan's Jeopardy show or something. I'm just like, what? Because it's my book. If I get it wrong, that's even worse.
I know. It's gonna, but you know what? We're preparing you for this. Anita, there should not be any
there shouldn't spoilers. Be spoilers.
There
Anita.
should not be spoilers. I worked very hard.
Yeah, the spoiler chat was last night, mostly with Crystal. So
yes,
it should be good.
Yes, and so for anybody who has already read the book and you want to know all those things, definitely go back and rewatch that because it was a fabulous chat.
We had
so I'm going to keep it non-spoilery here because really we're just here to, you know, this is kind of the finale of the launch week here, you know. So we're going out and we're gonna just take it easy.
I say all these things about how supportive the community is, and then there's Anita, you know. Thanks, Anita.
Well, all right. Are you ready for this?
On that note, here, I don't know if this is gonna help, but I'll get my Beanie Barbarian axe for good luck.
All right.
You guys help me out here.
I need something to tally for you. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Okay. First question. You knew the runes were coming. I've got different categories for you.
And no.
I know. So I've got runes. I've got geography.
Okay.
Moloch, Katesh, and then your final question is just kind of a free for all.
Okay.
Like I just picked something out of the book. Okay.
Is this an open book quiz?
No, it's not. It is not an open book quiz. I know. You better leave those books back on the shelf. Oh, yes. It's okay, Britton. She will have less to do next week.
Yes, I'm going to try and catch up on my life next week.
Zin's
here for moral support. Appreciate it.
So you knew the runes were coming.
Okay.
Name at least 3 runes of protection and 3 runes of prosperity.
Okay. Runes of protection: Ely, Feth, Gera, Kree, Kef, and Toll. She's overachieving here. I need 3. She gave me all 6. Okay. Okay. Runes of prosperity. I don't know these ones. Oh my gosh, I just said it. I don't know these as well. For anybody who doesn't know, these ones is one of my pet peeves in life. I'm not even kidding. Okay. Ata, Ijo, Tara, Hari, Iba, and Mul.
Oh, she nailed all of them.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. So I went through the book and I found out how many times each rune was used.
Oh, no.
So, which rune was mentioned the most?
I know it's between 2, and I know I'm gonna pick the wrong one. Was it Feth?
It was.
Yes.
Bonus point. What was the other one?
Ely.
Yes.
Yep. I knew it was between those 2 because I was like, I'm pretty sure that I started Garen's counting with, or when he recites them with Feth most of the time. So I was like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yes, Feth was definitely the most used rune in all of it. Let's see. Anita, only 3.
I fail. Anita, you are a hard taskmaster. That's all I have to say about that. Hey, Groupie.
She still thinks you did awesome, so.
I'm getting conflicting messages here, Anita.
This is cruel unusual. Yes,
I agree.
It was. How many times did I read the book? Technically only once through, but I read and reread a lot of chapters.
Well, I also sent you like bits and pieces while I was writing it. Yeah. Yep. So you've read a lot of scenes out of like, not necessarily all in one string, but.
Right. All right. Question 3. So we're getting a little bit more into things. So there is one of the Bruhai boys who was able to use these runes.
Yes.
But which 2 runes was this particular Bruhai boy able to use?
Tall and Terra.
Nice. Nailed it.
I'm feeling very good about myself right now.
Yes. So you got all the runes, but you told me you quizzed yourself on the runes before.
I did. I studied up, guys. And like, in fairness, I knew I probably would be okay, but I just had this. So now watch me get all the rest of them wrong.
Oh, no. But now we're getting into geography. The geography of your own map. How well do you know your world?
Pretty well.
All right, let's see.
Oh, man.
What river runs through Katesh?
Oh, shoot. Keldari?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Keldari River.
Nice.
You said river, and I was like, dang it. That's not a city.
Nope, it's not.
Keldari River. I mean, in fairness, it helps that this map has been around for a decade and hasn't changed a whole lot, so that helps.
Right. I figured I was pretty safe on that one, so I'm.
In fairness, though, Groupie, I drew it first. Sara just made it look a lot prettier.
we have added some things to the map since there was a lot of after talking with Andrew. For those of you that don't know, Andrew also does maps, and the dude is a world building genius. So he's like, oh, what kind of weather patterns you're getting in here? Like, here's the tree line, and here's these mountains, and this will create a desert. And we're like, oh yeah, okay, we need to add some.
We need to fix this. Yeah. Which, I'm of the opinion that you do as much of that as you can, and the rest you're like, this is a fantasy world. The rules might be different, and that is okay.
Yeah, was it? He said rivers don't split. That was something.
Yeah.
So we were gonna add a little split in the river just to be like,
just to be pots.
It's fantasy.
I don't know why Andrew puts up with us, to be honest.
I don't know. I really don't. So, all right. Well, you are 4 for 4. So you're doing great. What is the quote unquote capital of Rook?
Ujak.
There you go. I knew you were gonna get that one. I tried. Okay, guys, I tried not to be too mean here, and I tried to give her some that I knew she could get. And you know what? She's doing great. I think I should have made it a little harder.
Well, maybe we can do a reprisal of this, and you can make it like a really hard version.
Yes. Okay. We are on question 6 out of 15. What mountain range is Blackvale nestled in?
Oh, shoot. I don't think I know this one. What are those called? I haven't written any sections of any of the books in those mountains yet, so I like Teresh, the Teresh Mountains.
No.
That's the other mountain range, isn't it?
At this point in time, we have not named the mountain.
That's so mean. I was like, why do I not remember that? I can't remember what it's called.
I was like, oh, I'm going to throw in a trick for her.
I know there's the Eastern Teresh Mountains somewhere on the map.
Yes, there is.
That's the other mountain range.
And you know what? When we get into the artwork, we're going to look at the map.
You're so mean. No wonder I couldn't remember what they were called.
That's okay. We're here to, you only need 10. You only need 10, and I am buying you a book off your Amazon list. So
now I'm gonna get 10 right just because I'm mad at you and I want you to buy me a book.
I had to do one. I had to do one. So
well, at least I'm validated. At least I didn't forget something on my map, so that makes me feel better.
That is true. Okay. Now, question 7 out of 15. What countries share a border with Katesh?
Sundra, Rook, and Malik.
Yes. One could argue a little tiny speck of Dom.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Honestly, if you didn't say Malik, I was still going to give it to you anyways, because it's like.
Well, there's like an inlet, and then there's this tiny little speck of Malik that touches Katesh. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we've got plenty of spite to go around here. We've had 20 years of practice.
I was gonna say we have so much blackmail on each other. I mean, at this point, we're just here to keep each other from destroying our lives.
If you couldn't send me to jail for something, we're not doing this best friend thing right. So
I'd be in jail with you probably.
My camera.
No, see, the way that this would actually work, we've had this discussion before. I would be in jail because I did something stupid and you tried to get me out of it and landed yourself in jail as well. That's probably how this relationship would end up.
That is probably what would happen.
Yep.
All right. Question 8. We are getting into Malik.
Okay.
All right. You knew this one was coming too. We're talking about the Talatar and Urartu tribes.
Yes.
What color
Dang it.
are their forehead tattoos?
I forgot to remind myself. Okay. Talatar is blue and Urartu is brown. Backwards. No, that's backwards. Dang it. I changed it like 4 times when I was writing. Well, at least I got the 2 colors right.
Yes.
Talatar are brown. I thought I made the Urartu brown. I probably did, and then I probably changed it.
So I think, this is what happened is we were talking about this, and originally the Talatar were yellow. And we talked about this, and I was like, if they have a darker complexion, they're outside a lot. Yellow's not going to show up as a tattoo. So then we changed it, and I think Urartu was originally brown, and you switched it. So you're kind of
like something I would do. I love how my fans are going. This is going to be one of those situations where fans of the book are going to know this better than I do.
Yeah.
This is Grufe. This is Malik. There is no mercy in Malik.
No. But speaking of Malik, finish this quote. Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
The closed fist must find its balance in what?
An open hand.
There you go. I see. It was too easy.
Yeah, that is like the Maleki saying.
I know. And to be honest, I was, kind of guessing that even some of the people who've already read this would be able to get some of these.
Oh, yeah. Closed fist, open hand is making its rounds. That's going to become a thing. I'm excited.
It is. I think it already is a thing.
It is in the Discord for sure.
Yes. Okay, so far, we're on question 10, and so far you have 8 points. So
I only need 2 more right.
Yes.
Okay.
So she only needs 10 out of 15, and I am buying her a book off of her Amazon wish list.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
Because I need more books.
I know. I know. Question 10, we are talking about Malik. What color is Ita?
Huh? Oh, the horse. I was like, did I put a Maleki word in there somewhere? Ita is a chestnut filly.
Yes. Whose horse is she?
She is Sabayar's horse.
Very nice. All right. So, got 9 points. Question 11. Yuga is referred to as what to the Nargaris?
The war sword.
Yes. So that is your 10 points. Whoo!
You realize I have a couple books on my wish list that are like $60, right? I'm kidding.
Please don't kill me.
Yeah, John had the same idea. I think I would have had to get all 15 right for that one, John.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's already lost that opportunity. But in her defense, she's only missed 2 questions here. So, all right. Question 12. This is one I don't think you're going to get.
Oh, man.
Okay, sorry. We're now moving into Katash.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
I love you. All right. Who is the queen of Katash?
Jifra.
Okay, you got it. Never mind.
I know that.
She's not really mentioned anywhere.
She's mentioned, I think, one time.
Yeah, in the dramatis persona.
No, I think there's a point where Canarian is, just talking about how they haven't been able to have any more children, and he mentions Jifra.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you got me there.
I don't know what chapter it's in, but.
Okay. Now this one is really to bring some attention to a special little nod. Describe the silks that Itaki wears at the meeting between Counselor Ujo and Counselor Hallex.
He wears black silks with red clouds embroidered on them.
Yes.
Yes. And there's an Easter egg nod there to a character from a very well-known anime. Mm-hmm. And his name is kind of a nod to that as well. But
yeah.
I
love it. I love it. So
anybody in the comments knows what, I mean, Casey knows. If she's still in the comments, she knew right away. Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, she's gotten her 10 points. She's got the book. We're going for show now.
All right. Casey, who is it?
It's fabulous.
Yeah. She messaged me right away when she read that part. She's like,
I know.
Like, yep.
If you guys don't realize, sometimes Tori sends me messages like, look what this person said, because we
all the time. Basically, Sara and I are like, she's the other half of my brain, so she pretty much knows everything I know.
Yes. Talking Story. Yes, it is an awesome book.
I know.
Definitely need your copy.
I am getting the boxes. The first I ordered 2. I have 2 orders coming because I didn't order enough the first time. So I have another set of boxes coming, I think, later, like less than a week later. But the first boxes of physical copies that I will be sending out for the signed pre-orders are coming on Monday. So next week I'll be signing books until my wrist falls off.
It's good. All righty. Here we go. Next question. Finish the quote.
Okay.
And you also need to name who said it.
Okay.
A king must also be a what?
Master Lowy said it. I'm wrong, aren't I? That sounds like something Master Lowy said in the beginning of the book. King must also be a warlord?
Yes.
But that's not, okay, that's not Master Lowy. King must also be a warlord. Gosh, who said that? Counselor Hallex?
No.
Sorry,
Jakar, the third hand of Black Legion.
Sorry, Jakar. I forgot about you. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I finished the quote.
It's okay. It's okay. You finished the quote. That's fabulous.
I'm pretty sure Master Lowy has several quotes that are like very similar to that, but end differently.
Yes.
There's a lot of commentary on what kings should be doing in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that's right. Can I call Casey?
I mean, she's got her book, so you know that ship has sailed, but you know, and she can't get the full 15. But
yeah,
that's okay. We're on our last question here, so the torture is nearly over.
I'm still very proud of myself.
You did fabulous. That was awesome. I wanted you to at least get 10, but I didn't want you to get all 15.
True best friendship right there. I wanted you to feel like you were a winner, but not completely.
You know what? If you got all of them right, I would be doing my job poorly.
You realize I'm going to do the same thing to you when your book comes out.
Nah,
you'll probably get them all right.
No. All right, final question. And this does come with a hint if you so choose.
Okay.
What is Sindri afraid of?
I'm assuming this is referring to a specific quote.
It's from a conversation.
I mean, Sindri's actually afraid of a lot of things, but what specifically did I mention
here? One thing that is highlighted.
Okay.
And it is with the conversation with a certain queen.
Oh. Trying to remember, like I'm literally like running through that conversation in my head, trying to figure out where it is.
Do.
Okay, Alan.
Hey, Alan, have me on as a co-host.
That would be terrifying. Not getting vengeance? Is that what she says?
Nope. Give you one more shot at this. Has something to do with the Sky Clans.
Oh, heights. Here I was going all deep and philosophical. I was like, what deep philosophical thing did I mention that Sindri's afraid of? Yeah, heights.
Yep. So, fortunately, you didn't really get that one, but so you missed 4. You missed 4 out of the 15. So
I didn't write the book, guys.
You didn't write the book. No. Yeah, that was great.
I had this moment of panic that you were going to ask me to like name all of the Malek tribes, which fun fact about that is we were making the map after the book was written, and I suddenly realized that I was going to have to put in all of the other tribes on the map. And I made like 5 tribe names up in a span of about 30 seconds and send them to Sara. So I like remember them, but yeah.
I almost asked you what the name of the mountain was that we threw in literally as we were sending files. What?
Sharaibara?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then I was also debating on making you like just even mention like 1 or 2 of the other tribes in Malek. But
Nazra, Angar, and Baurin, and then there's another one.
Show off.
You know, it's totally. I'm just taking all the credit, Anitha. Sara actually wrote the Bloodstones, and I was the cover artist. Can we please?
We need to do something. Like we need to do like just a April Fool's thing where I get on and here's this thing I wrote and Tori makes a cover for it. Like
yes, please.
Yes, Grufe, I am writing a book. It's nowhere near seeing light of day because I finished the first draft and I went back to read it and I was like, oh dang, this is a hot mess.
Yep.
Because I started
Sounds relatable.
Like 2 years ago and then got stuck and left it there and then came back and was like, I'm gonna finish this, and then I finished it and it changed directions a little bit.
A little bit. It was a very good direction though, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get back into it, but I need to get some things under control before that happens.
Don't we all? Yeah, see, this is the real story, guys. Veronica Tekken is the real author of The Bloodstones, and Chris was just trying to help me out and accidentally sort of blew my cover.
You know.
So if you go watch Chris's wrap up about Bloodstones, the truth will out.
Yes. So all that aside, we promised artwork. Let's get into some artwork.
Let's do it.
Yes. So I'm going to start with artwork that is in the paperback currently.
Okay.
And then we're going to look into some of the concepts and stuff behind like the cover art and all of that. So I think there we go. Okay. So obviously we have kind of our rune glossary. And Tori, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of I know you talked about this a little bit with your creation of the runes, but kind of like what was kind of the thought process behind that? And I can share a little bit of what I thought with the design end of it too.
I have always been obsessed with runes, and runes were part of this world even 10 years ago plus when I started working on the story back then. And there are the origin story of this world is very much tied to the firstborn were people that were created first, and they were given these 12 first runes of protection and prosperity, and they had power tied to them so that the firstborn would be able to, use the world's magic to have better lives and be safe and all of those things, protection and prosperity. And I wanted them to be simple. And I've always been obsessed since I was a kid with like Egyptian hieroglyphics and Nordic runes and like all that, the kind of picture words throughout history. I've always found them fascinating. And so I knew I wanted to have cool runes in my books. And
Yes.
I love at some point, this is way down the road, but I would love at some point to do jewelry. Like,
yeah, that'd be
fun. So Sarah and I just kind of sat down one day and we were like, I had some basic little sketches of some of them that I knew that I wanted, and Sara kind of filled in the gaps and shifted stuff around and made them look cooler. And
yeah. I took some inspiration from like Viking runes and whatnot, and then but also kind of bringing in a little bit of that flair of like calligraphy and stuff. With the brush strokes, having some strokes look kind of thicker on one end and then tapering off, using like dots and stuff. With the runes of prosperity, something that kind of struck me was I wanted to use more of the use of like circles and the
wholeness.
Yes.
Yeah.
The wholeness, completeness, or even just circles feel clean to me.
Yep.
So that was kind of some of the thought process behind the way I drew some of them. And like, honestly, these didn't take very long. It was literally, we kind of sat down in an afternoon and just kind of blew them out.
Yep. Well, and I like how a lot of them are kind of slight representations of, like, I love that Feth, guard the house against dark messengers. It's a box, so you have this kind of house suggestion in the rune, and like Gara having almost the claw kind of design to it. And yeah, like all of them, there were little things about them that I thought looked kind of were a subtle nod to what the actual meaning of the rune was, which
well, even really like cool. Iho with the circles overlapping and whatnot. Yep. Awesome. Let's take a look.
Also, I do want to point out, I didn't think of this before, but you know how we have the close fist, open hand of Malik?
Yes.
And this is Kateshi runes. So this isn't Maleki language, but I love that the hand defends the weak. Tara is an open hand.
Ah, yes.
So
I didn't even see that.
I didn't either until just now that occurred to me, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
We did that on purpose, for sure.
Totally.
But yeah.
All right.
I was very happy with how the runes turned out. And there are others that we won't see until the second series.
Right. There was a question from one of the beta readers, because it was ARC readers, sorry. Because there was the rune mentioned pretty much in chapter 1, brew.
Yep. So there's a difference between, you have the first runes, which are what these 12 are, and then the language, the written language of Katesh is runic, and so they have runes for other words. It's just that these are the ones that have the most power behind them, if that makes sense. So there's the regular written language that has just the power of language, and then you have these which are imbued with power from the origin of the world.
Yeah.
So, that's probably the most I've explained of the magic system. That's a very tiny tip of the iceberg, but
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rune magic just makes me all sorts of happy. I think it's so cool.
There's so much potential for it.
Right. Yep. It's very cool.
Okay. So let's look at our map.
Yay.
So obviously, this is not actually the full map, but this is just kind of the map that we needed for this series. So some adjustments were made. And then you get kind of the blow up of kind of more of the region that we're really focused on in this. But yeah, honestly, this was a fun map for me to do. And I think I appreciated that it wasn't like covered with like cities and regions and stuff like that. And there was a little bit more room to add texture and just play with this a little bit.
Yeah. I loved the kind of softer, more hand-drawn or hand-painted kind of vibe we went for with it. I love it so much. It's really cool because I still have like the whole bunch of pieces of paper taped together with the original continent of Drular drawn on it that I did back in college. And it's very similar to this. So it was very cool to get to see finally like the cool version, the official version of it done. And I'm looking forward to expanding it in the next series because there's a lot of stuff over to the left side of the map that we'll get to see more of in the second series. So
yes, I'm very excited for that.
Thanks.
Okay, then we got, so these are just the POV illustrations. We've got Garen with the mask, Sindri's crossed swords, the fox and the wolf for Master Lowy, and then Zario's double-ended spears crossed. So we'll see more. We'll see some more of the mask in just a second here.
I have to say, I'm still so incredibly obsessed with the wolf mask, which I know we've talked about a little bit this week, but you designed that in like a 3D sculpture program, digital program, which was super cool. And I think that was the first time you had worked with that.
I had done some 3D sculpting in the past, but that was definitely the most involved project. And I basically sat there in my 3D like modeling program for like 36 hours straight and was watching tutorials until my eyes were bleeding. I wanted to do this. And when we kind of get to the cover and like what we decided to do with the cover, it'll make a little bit more sense as to why.
Well, and what's cool too, and I'm looking forward, so because one of the downsides of having these just as chapter headers is that they're very small in the book because they're chapter header images. But like if you blow up, especially like the wolf and the fox, you see that Sara put the 12 first runes around the medallion. You've got the wolf and the fox, and that is kind of a sketch replica of the big medallion that hangs behind the throne in Katesh. And we did a lot of discussion about the design of the weapons too. Like that was something where we kind of sat down and we thought about, because weapons are, I'm obsessed. It's part of being a fantasy nerd, I think. But I knew I wanted the double-ended spears. I knew that I wanted, kind of what I wanted Sindri's swords to look like. And we looked at a whole bunch of different weapons and kind of took a little bit from this one and a little bit from that one and finally landed on something we liked.
Yeah. And pretty much with every piece of artwork that I do, I usually have a collection of references, just like I might like this element about this thing. I might like this element about this thing. So like I talked about this a little bit with the design of the mask, that it was kind of a challenge. And actually I might just go on. I have the 3D model of the mask.
Oh, nice.
Here. So, one of the challenges is that, we are kind of delving into more Asian inspired, visual ideas. So we had kind of the samurai mask idea. The problem was I couldn't find any sort of references of what like a wolf would look like. So a lot of the wolf-esque things were either half face, so like, you still could see like eyes, forehead, hair kind of thing, or if they were a full face, you couldn't really tell them apart from like a tiger or a dragon or a bear. So it was really important for me to get at least that face shape in there, but still keeping some of the Asian flair, particularly with the fangs coming out the side. And even just like the carving patterns or like how the eyes were painted and whatnot. So I would love for this to actually get 3D printed someday.
I would love to cosplay, like actually have the Bruhai mask for a Comic-Con at the convention at some point, because that would be incredible.
Yep.
John wanted to know what program you used.
So I did everything on my iPad, and it is an app called Nomad, which I basically just looked up any kind of 3D sculpting thing. I had used a little bit of ZBrush, like a free version of ZBrush, and like in the past, so I had some experience with that, but this was definitely a new skill set being learned in this process.
Which was pretty incredible that you came up with this for your first. I would love to do like a limited edition run of actual like Bruhai masks on my website. That would be really cool.
That would be epic.
That is post Christmas. I'm going to look at, because everybody wants, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people have asked me about the Tori Talks beanie as well. So I'm going to be looking into some options for that.
Yeah. We need to sit down and actually talk about what we're doing with the hardcover. And I think it might be worth it to release a few things along with the hardcover edition. And with the hardcover, we have plans for some more interior art for that. So there's definitely more artwork to come, just even for this first book.
And I'm very, very excited about the illustrations that we're talking about. I think it's going to be incredible.
Yes. Okay, let's see what we got next. Okay, so we have just some character art.
You did that Saba sketch like forever ago.
It was a long time ago. And
because we were just kind of like, huh?
It shows a little bit.
Well, no, but I was just going to say like, we were like, what kind of armor, or like, we were playing with so many different armor types, and I liked the kind of nod. I wanted kind of an Asian flavor for the Bruhai, but also a little bit of a nod to like a gladiatorial armor setup. And so you just kind of went with it. Well,
and it's actually kind of funny because like the shoulder plate here, like I didn't even remember putting that on Saba. And I mean, this I know the Sindri artwork was created last April.
Mhm.
Saba was probably like
last year.
Like last fall. So like it's crazy even to see a little bit how those threads of inspiration follow all the way through to the end product.
Yep.
And these, so for those of you that don't know, I get really insecure when I have to do characters in like I am primarily like a creature designer. So people are not my comfort zone. So now with Saba, like it was kind of just a quick sketch and whatnot. I think it maybe took me like an hour or so to just kind of play with costuming and like the hair and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So Sindri, on the other hand, I think that was probably maybe closer to like somewhere between 4 and 6 hours.
Yep.
So it's just kind of, and there was also a huge kind of breaking point for me between these two drawings in that I had been really working to incorporate more texture, more movement, and kind of more grit to my character drawings. So you kind of get the aftermath of like how the Sindri piece came to be on the right hand side.
Agree, Ryan. I love that drawing of Sindri. You and Casey should just do it. Like
we should have a talk.
That would be awesome.
Yes. So, speaking of creature art, I did.
Yeah.
We've got our little the Caroxen from.
I love them so much.
The Milwaukee Plains, like, and this was just a fun little like.
The Caroxen are like basically if you added some pangolin features to a Highland cow. Yes. Well, and like when we talked about the creatures of the world, so the Maleki tribes are also herdsmen, and they're warriors, but they are herdsmen first, and they have these big herds of Caroxen, and the Caroxen have scales on the top of their backs and across their shoulders and withers. And what's cool about that is that gave us kind of a general like central ingredient for the Maleki armor, because the Maleki wear scale armor that's made from this incredibly tough scale that the Caroxen have.
Yeah, and one thing that is so incredibly important for me to know for creature design is like, okay, are they grazing animals? What climate are we working with? Is it more of a hot climate? Because even just thinking, okay, the hair, is the hair for insulation or is it to protect them from the sun? Because it's two very different textures of hair. So I almost pictured this with pictured the Caroxen with like long wiry hair, and then you've got like the hard scales almost like a lizard, like but expanded. Just like that difference of like what does this animal actually need to survive in its environment?
Yep. And then a lot of that I pulled into the world building when I was talking about the Maleki tribes. So they use the hides for their houses. They use the scales for their armor. There's so many products for the tribes that come out of these herds. So I would love to get like a Caroxen herd illustration in one of the books at some point, because that would be pretty cool.
That'd be fun.
They're big too. They're not like small. They're big.
No, they are a livestock animal.
They're big cows.
It's a pangolin ox.
They're probably size-wise, they're probably somewhere in between like a average sized cow and like a bison.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is sticking out its tongue because Sara likes to throw little cute details in there. I mean, it's so funny, you guys, because I will like have a chat with Sara for like 5 minutes and give her some basic this, and this about the creatures. And then I get this like 10 minutes later. Yes, Caroxen plushies.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely.
Speaking of which, so we do have another creature designed from the Maleficent.
I love this little guy so much.
We have our grass mouth lizard.
So Sindri makes a reference to a grass mouth lizard in the first chapter you meet her in, and she talks about wading like a grass mouth lizard. So these guys are kind of like those fish that sit in the sand on the bottom of the seafloor that just open their mouth and wait for prey to go in.
It's like
these guys are like the prairie version of that.
Yep. So everything, the wiry hair on the top is like mimics the grass, and then his tongue is almost like a worm. Like it's like a natural bait, and he just waits for something to pop in.
That would also be an adorable plushie, but I don't know how we would make that work with.
I don't know.
I love them. Yeah, there's only one mention of it, Grufe, in the book, and it's in Sindri's first chapter, and she mentions Yuga waiting to attack like a grassmouth lizard or something like that. I don't remember the exact phrase, but that's the only mention of grassmouth lizards in the book. But I sent Sara the thing, and I was like, I wonder what this would look like. And then,
Yep. And these are very quick, like maybe 20-minute sketches. It's just kind of a fun frame of reference that like you can kind of build off of that with the world building a little bit. So now we're going to get into kind of the thought process that went into the cover art. So
make a Snuggie out of the grassmouth lizard. That would be really funny.
That would be hilarious. Like almost like those blankets that look like a
or fish. Like those shark socks.
Yeah.
Oh my god! You could make grassmouth lizard socks. I love how this is going to turn into a huge merch line.
Oh yes.
I will make like a modern like your tour guide to Malik.
Right. Yes.
Don't forget to pick up your Hiffa at the airport.
All right. So the cover actually went through a few different ideas before we kind of settled on this idea. So I've got some of the earliest concepts in here, and like some of them were very much like a passing like this is kind of a neat idea, but not for this book kind of thing. So our first one, we have the idea was with Garen surrounded by the runes. Is my early version of the runes. Like,
this is what the runes look like.
I just needed scribbles in here, and then this idea of having the other Brew High boys kind of like fighting in the background, but they're like faded out and misted out.
Yep.
So I think initially the main reason we decided not to go this direction is because even though you start with a young, like not really protagonist, like he's one of the main POVs, but like even though he starts young, he doesn't stay young, and this almost felt too middle grade.
Yep.
So that was essentially why we nixed this idea. Then I kind of went into more of the idea of like, we have the Bloodstones, and so why don't we actually show a little scene from the execution at the Bloodstones? Tori, what were your thoughts on this one?
This one, I really liked the idea of it because it definitely tells you what kind of a book you're reading from the start. But this one, I think one of the things that you have to be careful of when you do covers is if you put a cover that is too very, very darkly violent, it really, I didn't think it was a good enough representation of the book as a whole.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right. Because really this moment lasts like the first page.
Yeah, the first page or two. Yep.
So, I guess that was more of a marketing decision. I still think this would have been a really fun. I don't even know that we would ever do it for an interior because it really is such a split moment.
It is. It's a big. I mean, it is a very big pivotal moment that sets up, the rest of the book in the series. But
yeah, Yeah. So it's there, it's in our brains, but I think that's kind of where it's gonna lay. So then this next one, this one we kind of were playing a little bit with some inspiration from was it the Sekiro?
Sekiro, yep.
Sekiro,
yep.
Game cover art, and we liked that composition of having just that darker figure in the front, and then almost
shadowed
behind, and then on along the bottom we have a little bit of a scene from later in the book with the horse village. And honestly, this is a very cool. I really liked this concept, and I think
I did too.
We almost went with this one.
Yep.
And I think one of the main reasons is I knew we wanted to do a wraparound, and I wasn't entirely sure how to make this one work. Which, actually with what we did,
it would have been very similar. I think
it would have been very similar. So I don't know. I don't remember exactly why we came away from this one. I think we kind of just let this one sit, and then I got the initial concept for the next one, and we kind of just fell in love with it. So.
Yeah. I still really, really like this one, and I think, this one was the closest to what we ended up with, and I did like still giving that nod to the first scene of the book. And the other thing, Chris, is I keep thinking like all of this stuff, as we move forward with different editions and we look at interior art and all that kind of stuff, we're definitely going to, keep all of this as potential options. So
yes.
Yes.
So then we got into the next concept, which was the preliminary for what ended up being the final. And I remember this one in that you can see I was a bit more careless with this concept, but it was very much like I had the idea, it was set in my brain, like this was going to be the one, and I just scribbled and got it out and was like, I feel like this is the direction we need to go.
Yep.
And there was a lot of hesitation because, first of all, as I mentioned, I'm mainly a creature artist. So now I'm going with, was it 7? Yes, 7 figures on the cover, and I swore I would never do that many.
Yep.
But the idea was like so ingrained in my head that I felt like I needed to go this direction, and I'm super happy that we did this.
Yep. Well, because the Bruhai are the trilogy is literally called Legends of the Bruhai. So even though I really liked the artwork of having the execution figure on the front cover initially, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I wanted the Bruhai to be the focal point. Right.
So all in all, I'm still really happy with the direction that we went with this.
Yeah, I am too.
Sorry, I realized that I forgot something in this slideshow, but we'll see if we have time for it afterwards.
Well, and you guys can see too, like this was when I think it's really cool to show the process with the concept sketches versus the final, because you can obviously see there are some differences. Like we talked about, I said right away, like I loved the idea of having Black Veil, the fortress, in the cover, but I had always imagined it being kind of like tucked up against the cliff face instead of being on top of it. And so we had to go through a whole bunch of different, we looked up a whole bunch of different artwork trying to figure out how that would look and what that would, that would, how we situate it. And
we had an argument over what kind of bridge it was.
We did. Yep. And I'm happy with how it turned out, and so are you, I think. So we managed it.
Yeah. So for reference, here's the concept and here's the final. So it is pretty close to what we initially went with, but obviously we tucked Black Veil into those crevices a bit more. We've got the bridge kind of coming off the left side. Originally, I wanted to try and get it to where the bridge, like the posts of the bridge were on that left-hand side, and then it went out to Black Veil, but I couldn't make that perspective really work. But I'm still really happy with how this like turned out overall. And let me see if I can get this to work. I have a video of the process.
Ooh.
So,
I think you can. I'm pretty sure you can show videos in here.
Yes, I think so.
Well, and as an author, while you're looking at that, this is where I think the collaboration between artist and author is so important, because when Sara brings something like the concept art to me, I'm not as much of an artistic visionary as she is when it comes to visual art. And so it was hard at first, and I really sat on the concept sketch for a while and just really tried to imagine all the different ways it could go. Because I know Sara can see it in her head, but as you guys can see, like, while the composition and everything is very similar from concept art to final cover, it's a very big jump in terms of just what it looks like. Yes. So this is one of those moments where choosing the right artist and choosing somebody that you trust, because I trusted Sara to make it look like it does now.
And really, I mean, that's something that we've just learned over the years, that we work well together creatively. And we've had a lot of trial and error over the years of, how much detail to give, how much. Oh, is it going? Whoa, is it starting?
Yeah, it's going.
Okay, so really quick here. We've talked about how much detail do I need to take from the author, and how much do I need to trust like my own artistic instinct on that, because you almost have to have a nice balance of both.
Yep.
So this was done in Procreate, and so Procreate kind of kicks out a nice little file for me, like a time lapse. So this is essentially what this is. The colors are slightly different because I take that into Photoshop for post editing. But you can kind of see some of my process here. The thing that I did differently with this cover that I've done with any other cover is adding the 3D elements. So you see the mask, and the mask literally is that 3D file that I created. And what I didn't want to do, I hate repetition. I hate repetition. So I literally took that mask and copied it in all of these different positions and pasted them in. And then, because like now I can do character art, it takes me longer. So, and I needed to move quicker. So I took a different program to create 3D models to position all of the boys where I wanted them, and then draw over top. So you'll see kind of the process of working over top of that, like kind of pre-sketch layer. And trust the process on this, because Garen went through some ugly stages. But I do like to work grayscale first, to add all of my contrast, my values in there, and then I will color over top everything else. And you'll see a little bit in there where the armor went through even some different different stages. So even while we had an idea of what the armor was supposed to look like, visually I still made adjustments along the way. And even with Black Veil in there, I use a lot of photo textures to help speed up that process as well. And then I end up painting over top of it. That's kind of part of the photo bashing process. But it's hard because I lean more into the illustration side more than I do the photo bashing. So that was kind of the process.
He really has, Casey.
Yes.
Yeah. And Sara was showing me like every, more than a typical illustrator will usually do, because we're, constantly talking to each other all day, every day. So Sara was sending me like little snapshots of what she was working on that day. And I was getting to see, pretty consistent steps of the process. And that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And we do I rely very heavily on Tori creating almost like those visual Pinterest boards for me. Like I call them mood boards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty common term among artists that you kind of have like, take a piece of this, take a piece of that. Like, for example, kind of looking at a lot of different fantasy book covers. What did we like? What did we not like? And looking at taking the kind of more Asian influence, what style of clothing, what style of armor, and while it's Asian inspired, it's not truly 100%
Mm-hmm.
that either. It does have its own little twist of.
We had a lot of design discussions about, what parts of that Asian flavor we wanted to be influenced by versus what were some of the things that I really wanted to have in there that were more just like, how do we make that Kateshi now?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. But that's what I got for artwork. I do have more concept art, but nothing that I can share because it is for later segments of this series, which yes. I think is one of the difficult things, because I finish something and I want to like show the world everything, like, look at this thing I made, and I can't.
Yes, that was one of the positives of having a shorter timeline with this book, is that by the time you were done with most of the stuff, we were pretty much like a month away from launching, so you didn't have to wait as long.
Right. I mean, Sindri sat there for quite a while.
She did, yes, she did. But she's out in the world now, and everybody look out.
She was fermented Hiffa.
Yeah, right. Yep. So if you guys have any other questions for Sara or I about the art process, feel free to drop those in the comments. Also, for those of you who are interested in seeing more of Sara's art in general, if you go down in the description box, her website and her YouTube channel are down there, and she has a lot of videos on her channel about her art process, and there's a lot of her artwork on her website. So you guys should go check that out, because there's a lot of really cool stuff in there.
Yes, and I don't think, have we closed out on pre-orders yet?
No, yes. So at the end of probably this weekend, if not before, I am going to put a pause on signed copies on my website so I can catch up. Mm-hmm. They will open again, but it won't be this, like, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. They will open again once I have caught up and have everything packaged that I've already sold. So if you want to grab any of the signed paperbacks on my website, feel free to do that.
And not saying, just saying, Tori is kind of a packaging freak. So when it says signed copy, you're not just getting a signed copy. It is an experience.
Yeah, I've had multiple businesses since I was very young, and one of my kind of nerdy things is packaging. I love packaging, and this would have been really dumb, but I was checking out custom printed boxes originally, which are ridiculously expensive. They're very cool. I almost just didn't care and bought them anyway, but then I would have made nothing. So yeah, I have done my best to I'm very excited to see people start getting the boxes. So
it's gonna be good.
Yep.
Awesome. Exactly. Well, thank you for letting me hijack your channel.
Thank you for quizzing me on my book.
It was fabulous. So if you guys, if anybody here is not already part of Tori's Discord, you can sign up on her Patreon and get into that community. It's a fun time.
Yep. Well, and I mentioned this already in one of in the regular launch party, I think on Tuesday, but my patrons are are responsible for over half of the book budget that I had for Bloodstones. And so I, again, want to give them all a huge thank you, because when you support artists, like it's actually really making a huge difference. So huge thank you. And like Sara got paid what she was worth because of my patrons, and that was really important to me. So thank you guys for that. And what else? Yeah, Amazon for the Kindle and paperback version. If you don't want to get the signed pre-order or the signed paperback on the website, all the links are down below.
And Tori's going to have to post in the Discord what book she got for answering all those questions on spot.
Yes. And also another perk, by the way, of the patron Discord channels is that you get to see stuff before everybody else. So like when Sara, a lot of the concept art and stuff that Sara sends me, I also share with my patrons on Discord. So, Yep. Sounds good. Well, Sara, thank you for taking over my channel and sharing all of your art process. I was very excited to chat through that, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't get to see for a lot of these books, and it's fun to see the process.
Absolutely.
So everybody in the comments, you guys rock. Thank you so much for hanging out, supporting the Bloodstones and me. And it has been an insane launch week. We are at 3 days post launch. We already have over 2,000 Kindle Unlimited pages read. We have well over 150 sales this month for the Bloodstones alone, and that's like this last week. You guys have been amazing. So thank you so much for that. It's really rewarding for me to be able to do what I love and see you guys love it as well. So thank you for that.
All righty.
We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Later.